Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Stu, and this is Steel Heights, part 29 of the VJ Scenario Pack. Free of money worries, you are to build a park using only steel rides and roller coasters. Your objective to have 10 different types of roller coasters operating in your park, each with a minimum length of, call it 4,000 feet, and an excitement rating of at least 7.00. Okay then, so another scenario, another coaster building scenario, and another one where we haven't got money, so we can't research, which means we have to wait and see what rides are going to come out, what scenarios, what scenery is going to come out. Let's have a look at the roller coasters because they are going to be the most important thing. Oh, whoa. Okay. So, what scenery do we have? Not a great selection. Okay, then. Right. So, we're probably just going to record the building and time lapse them and do what I've done with the last few coaster building scenarios. I think I'll take my time building. I think I was thinking of doing like a transport ride coaster like I've done before. But I probably wouldn't have chosen a corkscrew to do that with.
Let's go.
Hey guys, welcome back. My name's Stu, and this is the wrap-up video of the Steel Heights scenario from the VJ scenario pack. Part 29 of the VJ scenario pack as well. And I remembered that because I put the 29 in the box just there. So we've built all 10 courses. A quick reminder, we have to have 10 different types of roller coasters operating in the park, each with a length of about 4,000 feet and excitement rating of at least 7.00. There was no money, so we weren't able to dictate what was researched. We were just in the lap of the gods, the Rollercoaster Tycoon gods. The first one we had unlocked, the only one we had unlocked when we started the park, was a corkscrew. So I started off building a corkscrew, Tangerine Dream, this one here. Around, you can see from the test results there, the ride time and the ride length. You've got 4 different results. That tells you you've got 4 different stations. So I've done that. So we've got a transport ride going all the way around. I have done an individual video for all 10 roller coasters, kind of like a time lapse of the build, and then a POV of the actual on-ride experience, or as close as you can get to those things. Second station just there. So I've tried to keep them in keeping with each other, but slightly different. Third one just there, and then the fourth one just there. So I haven't gone over the top on drops and inversions and things like that because they all stack. So for example, this year it's got 20 drops. Now obviously that 20 drops is made up of all of the drops on the ride, even though if you were going from station 1 to station 2, you might only experience 4 or 5 drops. And how many inversions? 2 inversions, but you might only experience 1 inversion. So there's 1 there, and then I think right at the end. You can check out the video if you want to see it in more detail. So that was the first one. Second one, Blue Streak. Giga Coaster just over here. It's a Mobius design. So you've got 2 stations, and the first station will come back to the second station, and the second station will come back to the first. Or in this case, I've got loading and unloading stations as well. So the first loading station will come back to the second unloading station, which will then go to the second loading station, if that makes sense. So it comes out just around here, and then we've got the booster section, and then we got some ups and downs and some around and abouts, and then back to station. Now we needed 4,000 feet. So this has got a combined total of about 8,000 feet. So it adds them up. So with this one, even if the ride length was only 3,000 for each half, it would still be over 6,000. It would include that. So that's the Giga Coaster. Solid 10 excitement. What was number 3? Red Roustabout. So previously, I should have just clicked on it. That would have taken me to it. That would have been easier. Previously, I have done a quad Mobius Virginia Reel. So obviously, these are only steel coasters. So I've decided to go for a similar sort of thing, but with the spinning wild mouse. So total combined distance of somewhere around nearly 5,000 feet. Excitement 9.5. But as long as it's over the 7, is it? That's fine. I did want to go in the build. I did try and do where are they? The whole purpose of one of these top ones is I did want to do the little doors and have like an indoor section, like a dark ride element of the top one, but it didn't work, so I just left it as that. And then number 4 wasn't that one. Let's have a look. Spiral tap. So this one, in the mega park, was the Tycoon Park, which is the title theme park that you see when you load up the game. There is a spiral coaster. I believe it's 2 spiral coasters, and they've got these interlocking spirals. So I've done that, but I've done it as a Mobius. So the total length is just under 5,000 feet. This is a bit of a pain to do. The easiest way I found was just to build the first spiral, then start a new coaster, build the second spiral, and then bring it back and then delete it and replace with the first one, if that makes sense. If not, let me know, and I can do a video tutorial on it. So solid 9 excitement on this one. Synchronization, got it there in the end. Let's fast forward. I'm looking at the wrong side. Oh, never mind. We'll edit that out in post-production. No, we won't. It's way too much hassle. Goldilocks. Now this one, we'll look at this one last because I can't remember which video it was, but this one caused me so much hassle because it kept breaking down, and because of the nature of the ride, it was a pain for the mechanics to sort out. Let's have a look at the next one. Mouse House. So I had this idea of having this sort of spiral sort of lift thing for it in and out of a building. I've done it with 2 stations. In hindsight, probably shouldn't have done it with 2 stations because I haven't bothered with the synchronization. So, I mean, that's a good 9.1 excitement, and there's no synchronization bonus on that either. So because of all the block breaks, we've got 20 cars. We could have gone up to 31, I believe. I was going to do them synchronized, but then in the end, I just thought, we'll just chuck them out. And if they manage to sync up, then great, little bonus. If not, then so be it. I'm not sure if you can hear the noise of the doors opening and closing. It's quite annoying. So yeah, it drops down and it goes through this building. So I've done it to look like a building with like an access door and like an aircon unit or something on the top. And then it comes out and then it drops up, down, etc., etc., and then back to the station. I think it would have been a lot better had I just done the single track. Because as it is, I mean, I'm not far off 3,000 feet with the single track. So we could easily have just made it a bit more complicated, a bit longer, and it would have been fine. So it's just something I wanted to try. And who knows, maybe we'll do something, an improved version in the future. So this one is the Darkest Night. Vertical drop coaster. Oh, best custom design rides. Cool. So yeah, I'm just throwing things, throwing stuff at the wall when it comes to, that's the way I do the station building designs, is just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Yeah, not sure if this one's a good one or not. So let's have a look at the stats. Again, solid 9 excitement. Quite a large track. So at this point, what I've been doing up until now is I've been keeping each coaster in its own sort of contained area. And now I'm getting to this point where on coaster number 7, I'm like, we got tons of space. So now we can afford to branch out a bit and start making coasters a bit bigger and more expansive. Especially now I'm not doing as many Mobius coasters. So again, there's a separate video for each of these. If you want to see them in more detail, do so. Click on them. The link will be on the top right-hand corner, I believe, in the card. For the playlist. And if you find that the video is going too fast, because that's kind of what a time lapse does. I say time lapse, really, it's just speeded up footage. But if you do find it's going too fast, click on the little cogwheel on the YouTube video and change the speed down. So that will obviously change the speed of the music, but who knows? Maybe it'll sound industrial or doom. Is that what it was called? So I kind of gave up doing the fences and stuff around the areas because I wasn't feeling it with this scenario, I will be honest. Next one, banger racing. So I wanted to try and do some courses that we don't normally do. So this one is the Soapbox Derby cars, Soapbox Derby cars, Soapbox Derby, Demolition Derby, Soapbox Derby. Who knows? Derby or Derby? Excitement 8.52. So it is benefiting from the synchronization bonus. So a total combined length of around 5,600 feet. So more than enough. And the synchronization's pretty good as well. Look at that. 2 seconds a piece. So comes out and around. I've built a little bridge there for them to go across. Biggest downside of this is there's only a maximum of 7 cars. Now clearly I can't have 3.5 cars per track, so I've had to go for 3 cars per track. So that's a bit annoying, but I'm sure it's well worth the wait. So up and down and back around, cross over there for them to go back to the opposite stations and then back. Cool. What else? What else? Pink Panther. First inverted coaster in the park, and I did have to do a few redesigns of this, and it's now definitely a more boring ride. But the first one came back with over 10 intensity, so I had to scrub a few inversions, and then once I did that, part of it didn't really make sense, so I ended up getting rid of quite a lot of the tracks. So there's 2 chain lifts on there. So it comes out of the station, there's a little corkscrew there, and then up the first chain lift, and then it drops down and around. And there was another section here, a lot of twists and turns and bends, but in order to get rid of some drops and things, I got rid of that. There was an inline twist as well, and then a brake run, and then the second chain lift. But since I got rid of a lot of that, I got rid of the brake run, so now it's approaching the second chain lift with a lot more speed. So it gets up to here before slowing down. And then after that, then we've got the Cobra Roll. A little bit fast, but it wasn't going quite fast enough for the loop. So I did have to raise the chain lift a little bit, twice actually, in order to get it to go over. Little brake run and a block brake, and then back to the station there. Cool. And then last, Green Giant, green and gold giant, but we're going for the Green Giant. So we've gone for a hypercoaster, 2 stations, a loading station and an unloading station. So that helps with an extra block on the track. It comes down, and then the chain lift then is right next to the first coaster chain lift, the corkscrew. So occasionally they do sync up, not intentionally. Oh, there you go. It's almost going to do it now. Not quite. Suppose we could slow this down. There you go. It's on the green. You're like, bye, losers. And I just realized I've put this back into test. Oh, but that's okay because we've still got to test Goldilocks. So after I finally managed to get it fixed, I just switched it off and left it off. So I did something similar back on Nevermore Park, where I did the 10 coasters with 10 plus excitement. So what I did is I did something similar with the Twister, except I did some top hats, inversions, and whatever, and it was a lot more compact. I don't remember that one having such issues as well, but maybe it did. So let's put this on test then. So one of the, it's called Goldilocks. One of the trains is gold and the other three are brown. I did toy with doing one brown, one black, and one white because of, different bears. But I don't think Ice Bear would have liked it. So yeah, it just has to, we have to wait for it to go through its cycle. And then when the test results come back, also gonna have to wait for the corkscrew test results to come back because someone's an idiot. So yeah, so each one shoots you off, does a little something different, and then comes back. So Goldilocks has come back. So total combined length of just over 4,000 feet, 9 drops amongst the 4 tracks, 5 inversions, just under 9 excitements. We're now waiting for the corkscrew again because someone's an idiot. Let's open that up. Hopefully it won't break down. It's already tested now, so it doesn't matter if it does. Why did I do that? Why did I change the speed? Oh, there you go. It's going to come back. So whilst we're waiting, now in hindsight, I shouldn't have built it right up to the fence there because you can't build a wall. So just, you can see through the wall there. Just imagine the wall is there and it's orange like the rest of the walls. Anytime now, the test results are going to come back in. Let's put it back on fast forward. Anytime now. Hopefully there won't be another coaster building scenario for quite some time. And it's done it. There's always that pause that makes me think, what have I screwed up this time? Oh, we've done it. Stoof. Okay, so that's scenario 29 knocked off. On to the next one. As I was saying, hopefully we won't have another coaster building scenario for quite some time, because I know some people don't like the time-lapse builds. Some people do, but some people don't. I myself find it a little bit, I don't mind the build 10 per se. I just, when it's like the length requirement, I just find that a bit boring. And I especially find it a bit boring when there's no money, because there's just no real challenge. And it's tedious waiting for all the coasters to unlock. So, this has been Steel Heights. I've been Stu. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye!